Hey YouTube, it's Lewis with Rosebud's Travels, and we're presenting another episode of Cooking with Katy.
Okay, first thing I want to do is I want to show you how I pack my little 3-quart Instant Pot to carry in the casita to travel with us. This box that I have here I got at Target. It's a nice square box and it sits underneath the bed in our Spirit Deluxe. So it fits very nicely under the bed. And what I do to travel with the Instant Pot is I put it all the different parts that I use in the casita. I travel with the silicone ring loose uh, so that it doesn't get mashed or damaged. Then I install it in the lid. Of course, it acts up while I'm doing it. Okay, so that's the lid. I have it ready to go. And then inside the pot, I store a little pot for cooking, reheating things and steaming things, and some trivets. Today we're making goulash, so I don't need those, and I'll set them aside. And then I also have a lid for when I just want to keep things hot or cook slow, which I don't do very often. I have this wonderful little tool which I use to chop up meat and frozen things in the pot. It's really cool. I just got it and I think I just love it. And then inside the inside the box is the pot, of course, with the Instant Pot. And then other things that I might use. I have parchment paper rounds for using with the little pot, and the cookbook, and the guide. At any rate, it handles really well and it corrals all the different parts that I use for the Instant Pot. Okay, so time to get started on the goulash. And I'm going to plug in the pot. And I'm going to start by setting it to saute. And here in this bag I have frozen goulash starter that I had prepackaged for traveling with. So it's vacuum sealed. And in it I have a half a pound of ground beef. I have it's about a half of an onion and about a half of a bell pepper chopped up and garlic. And I sauteed all those together at home. So I started this at home so that it would pack better in the freezer. And I'll get it out. I got the pot started. And we're going to let that thaw. So we'll get back to you in a minute after it's gotten itself going a bit. Okay, we're back, and I should say I'm Katy with Rosebud's Travels. Right now what I've done is I've gotten the frozen meat mixture on saute, and I'm breaking it up with this fun little tool. I add a little bit of water to help it steam, and you can see that it's all coming along nicely. So I need to start adding the ingredients for my goulash. Let me pull out my phone. What I have here is the ground beef with a yellow onion chopped and bell pepper and garlic. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some of my seasonings. The first one I'm adding is the Penzeys Justice, which I use instead of salt in almost everything that I cook. I'm going to use a half teaspoon, and let's call it a generous half teaspoon. I find that trying to cook low sodium, it's always good to use more rather than less in a lot of seasonings. The only one I would make an exception to is maybe cumin. I'm not real fond of that flavor when there's too much of it. Okay. If you're using salt with this, regular salt, you would use seasoned salt for it. The next thing I'm going to use is my recipe says a dash of crushed red pepper. I don't have that, so I'm going to add a couple of shakes of cayenne. to add a little bit of flavor, spicy flavor to it. Then I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of celery seed. And I'm going to add a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. This, I packaged it because the jar was bigger than I wanted to carry, so I just put some in a well-cleaned spice jar. And this is actually a reduced salt Worcestershire sauce. And it seems to work just fine and tastes pretty good, so I can recommend it. It's the Lee & Perrins one. Okay. Next ingredient I need to add is a can of diced tomatoes. Again, no salt for our low sodium diet. If you're not on a low sodium diet, use the kind of tomatoes you like. This is like a 15-ounce can. The recipe that I'm using is a half of a recipe. So you would use a 28-ounce can if you were using a pound of ground beef. Here we go. And that goes in. Whoops. Stir it all together. Okay. The noodles are going to cook directly in here, so I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of water. I'm going to use the can to measure so I get all the tomatoey juicy goodness out of there. So more or less about 1.5 cups of water. And then these are just macaroni, and I have about 1.5 cups of macaroni, technically 3 servings. I'm just going to dump it in there. You don't want to stir it at this point, you just want to kind of push it down into the sauce. Next we put the lid on. Make sure it's closed. Turn off saute, cancel, and then pressure cook. And I want it to cook for 9 minutes is good for this. And once it's heated up and done its thing, I'll let it release naturally for about 5 minutes, and then I'll release the pressure. So I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, the Instapot has done its release, its own release for 5 minutes, and now I'm gonna speed it up. Notice I use a spoon to move it so that it's not near my hand, and as it naturally releases, after the button here in the back goes down, then I'll open the lid and we'll be ready to go. This will take just a moment. Okay. You may want to speed this up in the editing process. And you can see, if Lewis pans over it, we're going to have a nice green salad.
Yep.
With some tomatoes and
she's already got the salad
ready
prepared.
To go.
Yep.
To go along with it. A nice, simple, easy supper.
Yeah, a good camp supper and all low sodium.
All right, hurry up and we'll go. While we're waiting for it to go down, The last couple of things you add is, um, it's really nice if you have fresh parsley, but I don't have fresh parsley. An eighth of a cup of parsley gets stirred in. I'm just going to put a handful of this dried parsley into it, and you stir that in. And then if you want, you can just top it with some cheese. I'm using a medium cheddar, just a little bit, add some nice flavor.
Go.
Okay, so the natural release took about 4 additional minutes, and I'm going to open the lid, give it a little shake to get the steam off. Need a place to set down the lid. Put it upside down there. And you can see that the noodles and the goulash are all nicely cooked together. Let's give it a stir. There we go. I'm going to
Smells good.
throw in a good, probably a tablespoon and a half or so of dried parsley. And I'm going to give it a stir here. It's hot on the edges. There we go.
There we go, a camp meal.
Yep. Just like your mama used to make.
Are you going to put the cheese on it?
I'm going to put the cheese on it while it's on a plate,
Oh,
so
okay.
that it doesn't make the pot all sticky.
Okay.
So
Good plan.
I'm kind of averse to making more mess than I need to make.
Okay.
Okay, so there's one portion dished up. Just sprinkle like a tablespoon or so of cheese on top, just to add some flavor. And if you don't use a whole lot of cheese, that doesn't add a tremendous amount of sodium. In this case, a tablespoon would add about 50 milligrams of sodium, so it's not too much so that you can enjoy a little bit of cheese. All right, and we'll get busy and eat.
Okay.
It's getting kind of late around here.
Yeah, it's getting later.
We had
Late.
a late afternoon.
Right. This is another great camp supper. Easy to cook in the Instapot. We have the small one. It's easy to carry. What is it?
3-quart.
3-quart?
Yep.
Okay.
Just the right size for 2 or 3 people to eat
Yeah.
from.
It's only 2 of us, so that's why we use that.
And kind of cool because it keeps things warm while you
It keeps
while you
warm
wait.
while you're eating.
And then let's put a little salad dressing on the salad, and we're ready for supper.
Yep, a little salad dressing, and we're set to go. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of Cooking with Katy. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next video.